Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, give us a second to check the feed. Papa Boy yours yet?
Yep, it's up now.
All right, bet. All right, shalom.
Shalom.
It's your brothers from Great Millstone, Charlotte, coming back with another Lord willing edifying lesson to feed the elect of the nation of Israel. And before we get started, we want to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect that sat here labored in all truth and sincerity. To you, we say shalom.
Shalom.
All right, so as you see the title, okay, the prophets have isolated the wicked, okay, which really, I wanted to put Esau, but as YouTube be tripping with certain titles, so we're going to generic it out at this point. But the reason why we wanted to get on this because, as we've been saying, starting with our apostles and elders and elder bishops for all these years of these devils are pretty much showing themselves to be exactly who the scriptures say they are. All right, which are the Edomites. Because when you go throughout the scriptures give you number one the characteristics of the Edomites, of the wicked, which are the Edomites, but also too, the plans that they said that they was going to do as far as bringing in this new world order. All right, the control over everybody in the earth, and what we're seeing taking place. All right, since 2026 has really been, going in with a bang. You know, these devils are pretty much fast forwarding, their plan, and they're making it seem for all to show us that we are into those, that time to where they're bringing in this new world order. If you got anything you want to add, bro, you got it.
Kind of just like you said, right? It's well known, right? Who is behind all these things, man. Right? It's not hidden. It's not in the shadows anymore, right? They've come to the forefront, and they're pretty much staking claim of it, man. Right? It's that pride, right? That they're boasting of right now. You got the
Mm-hmm.
situation, going into the Davos meeting that's going to be taking place this week, right? That's just going to be them doing more and more boasting against Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. You know?
That's right. That's right. Well, matter of fact, since you said that, let's grab Psalms chapter 2 real quick, and then we'll get that Micah.
Okay. It's the book of Psalm, chapter 2 and verse 1. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine the vain thing?
Right, and we understand that the heathen all came to one accord to try to do, their sole purpose of, taking the name of Israel out the earth. Okay, so it says, "Why do the heathen rage and imagine the vain thing?" Because these devils truly think that they're going to be able to pull off this new world order, which is going to enslave, humanity in this digital prison. You know, that's a vain thing because according to prophecy, all right, the world isn't going to be given into to the elite's hands, which are these Edomites, these Amalekites, forever. All right, you were only given, a period to rule, which, as we see, all right, we're in the time of the base man ruling the earth, which the base man being the Edomites, according to Daniel 4:17. But this is ultimately, this devil's last ditch effort to try to usurp, all right, his authority over the Most High. And so what he's thinking is, if he can chip the whole entire world, specifically the Lord's people, which are you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and those who descend from that lineage, you know, he thinks that he can rewrite the world in his image and X the Most High out. All right, that's the vain image that these heathen, pretty much have imagined because all of the other nations are in on this as well. All right, you have brother been mentioned, the WEF meeting that's going to take place tomorrow, January 19th. All right, which we know all these world summits where these nations meet, the WEF, the Bilderberg Group, the UN, and all these different trilateral committee and all these different things. That is them coming together to discuss mainly, all right, how to get rid of the Israelites, all right, as well as them establishing this new world order because they know the Israelites are their sole, resistance to really bringing this thing in and cementing it. You got it out.
Right. Okay. So Psalm 2 In verse 2, I'll read this in the NLT.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "The kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord and against his anointed one."
Mm-hmm. And that's what these devils have done. They've done extensive planning. All right, a precautionary measures. You know, they've took, you know, years, decades, even centuries, because these devils, the top ones, they understand the concept of reincarnation. So when you go into, you know, the Knights of the Templar, you know, Freemasonry and all these different things that these devils have set up throughout the years, the plan was always to get to this point, even going all the way back to the Greek, the Roman Empire, which we are in the revived Roman Empire now. This was the end result of what they've always been trying to do. So now we see them with the technology to make their dreams possible. All right, but it's all ultimately a farce because Yahweh Shem Shai has you in a trick bag. All right, you're not going to accomplish what you seek out to establish. You got it.
Okay. Psalm 2 and 3. It's in NLT. It reads, "Let us break their chains and cry, and free ourselves from slavery to the Most High."
Mm-hmm. And that's what they did when they, you know, pretty much, you know, took Israel down. All right, they put us in those chains, put us on those slave ships, brought us over here to the Americas. All right, and beat our heritage out of us, man. And that's how they were able to take Israel out the earth for a season. Okay, but like I said, that was all part of the Most High's plan, anyways, man. You know that prophecy had to be fulfilled according to Jeremiah. What was that, 17:4? I believe. You got it.
Okay. It reads, verse 4, "But the one who rules in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them."
And that's what I was saying earlier, because the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, all right, doesn't have that in prophecy, all right, as far as them winning in the end, you know, coming to pass, man. Yeah, your end is destruction. So everything that we see these devils, you know, trying to establish, all right, is really being done in vain because it's going against the words that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua has said as far as what the end of these devils are going to be. Because according to I believe it's Psalms 49 and 11. It says that their inward thought says that their houses shall continue on forever. So this new world order is nothing more than a proud ass pipe dream that these devils have, you know, devised within themselves to try to take, you know, the Most High influence out the earth. But no matter what you devils do, that's going to be impossible because the Lord's here's how stupid these devils are, man. The Lord's influence is in them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're doing exactly what the Lord programmed them to do, because according to Psalms 45 and 7, it says the Lord creates good and evil. Okay. So he has you doing exactly what he wants you to do for his purpose, you know, because this is the reason why at the end of the day, the prophets are set up, all right, to give you this understanding. Though in the eyes of man, this looks like, you know, an impossible thing to fight against. But when you understand the grand scheme of things of what Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is doing through the Spirit, we know that, you know, the end result is it going to be what these devils envision it to be, man.
Okay. We get that, Micah.
Real quick, since I said that, get that Daniel 4 and 17 as I quoted, because this is what ultimately what we're doing now. All right.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 4 and verse 17. "This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones."
Right, and we understand that's talking about the angels. All right, the angels are another word for the angels are the watchers or messengers. All right, but also that's going into us as well because we are angels in these fleshly bodies. All right, so what we're doing is declaring the decree of our master, which is the Heavenly Father. All right, through His Holy Son, or yeah, His Heavenly Son. Go ahead.
"To the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men,
Mm-hmm.
and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men."
Right. So it says to the intent, all right, to the knowledge of those that live on this earth, that is the Most High who ruleth in the kingdom of men. All right. I believe that's First Samuel, the second chapter, that goes into how the Most High kills and make alive. All right, he bringeth up and he putteth down. Okay, he maketh a man poor and he maketh a man rich. All right, so Esau Edom is that base man that the Lord raised up. All right, ultimately to punish his people, the Israelites. But at the end of the day, because also hold I think it's the prayer of Azariah 1, I think it's 9. It goes into the most hateful forsakers of God. But these devils, all right, were put in this position for the sole purpose of prophecy, all right, to show the elect of the nation of Israel ultimately, because that's the only one that matter in the Lord's eyes right now, all right, what wickedness on the highest level looks like. So when we receive the kingdom, when Yahweh returns, okay, he gave us the full understanding to understand why his ways are needed in the earth. All right. When these devils remove the most high's influence out the earth, as far as the philosophies and ways of thinking, all right, and put his own, retarded ass ways in the earth, okay, now the whole earth is out of whack, you know. So this is why it's a learning lesson to us, to why we need the Lord. Okay, we need Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. You got it out.
Okay. So prayer of Azariah, chapter 1, verse 9 or verse 8. Sorry, it reads, "Wherefore all that thou hast brought upon us and everything that thou hast done to us, thou hast done in true judgment."
That has done in true judgment. So what we seeing being done in the earth, we have the wherewithal to say that it's being done in true judgment, because this is all our fault. All right, because of our sins and our wickedness and disobedience and rebelliousness, the Lord allowed this devil to do what he's doing. All right, all for the sake of teaching us a lesson, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Verse 9, "And thou didst deliver us into the hands of lawless enemies, most hateful forsakers of the Most High, and
Mm-hmm.
to an unjust king, and the most wicked in all the world."
And who's that speaking about? All right, Job 9:24. The earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right, and who did these characteristics that you just read in that verse all fit? What nation of people does this talk about?
Yeah.
It's the so-called white man. All right, specifically these tiny tops, man. All right, because they're the ones that's really controlling and running everything. All right, that's giving these people everything that they have, that they're following. All right, like it's beautiful. We had Chat GPT, create this picture. But the whole thing, that makes this funny is these guys are the frontmen. All right. The true wanted of the earth really is the ones behind the scenes. All right. The elites. All right. Because these guys, they're being put as the faces, but it's like the Wizard of Oz, man. We're looking for the man behind the curtain, man. All right. The ones that's controlling the strings of these guys, man. Because none of these guys, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Soros, Fauci, and they got Biden. None of these guys are the ones that's really in the power seat, as far as the house of Esau, all right, the house of Amalek. We're looking for those 13 royal bloodlines, man. All right, so-called royal, because there's nothing royal about them, but these are the ones that's truly wanted. All right, because what they're doing is pushing forth this wickedness in the earth, man. All right, it's that saying, I forget who said it, but they said, I care. Say, give me the nation's control of a nation's money, and I care who makes the laws or whatever.
Yep.
Because if you control the money, all right, you can control anything. All right, these people they have that saying, everybody has a price, you know. But these devils are able, through bribery and eventually, what's the other word, like blackmail, or the threatening of their life, you know, they're able to move the people how they want, just as the Most High moves people as chess pieces. Where these devils, through their influence, are doing just that. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, he gave us into the hands of the most hateful forsakers of the God, the most wickedest man on earth, because this devil literally does everything outside of the Most High's parameters, man. All right. That's why he's known as the wicked. All right. He's the physical embodiment of the spiritual demon Satan. That word Satan means, in Hebrew, means shaitan, which means adversary. He is adverse to everything righteous in the earth, man. All right. And this man is guilty against, not only crimes against the Most High and his son, all All right. Again, he's guilty against the crime what he's done against the Israelites, as well as the earth, man. So this man have a lot to pay for. So when you look at all the wicked things being done on the earth, all fingers point back to Esau. All right. Another saying that they say, all right, is if you want to know who runs the world, see who you can't talk about. You know, and these elites have hidden themselves so much to where you can't even speak. You know, when you try to look it up now because they control the media as well. You know, when you look up who is behind the heads of everything, the information lets it be known who runs the big pharma, who runs the media, who owns Hollywood, all right, who controls the food supply, who controls the way people think. Everything points back to these devils, man. Who controls the banking system, the judicial system, the educational system. Everything points back to these devils, man. You know, and they do everything outside of the Most High's knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and this is why the people are fucked up. And you got anything? All right, go ahead.
Okay, just real quick. So Job 30 and verse 8, it reads, "They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth." Right. So this is just speaking on Esau during that time. Right. This is the same man that's in power right now, man. Right. As you know, they claim civilization began with the Greeks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the scriptures tell us, right, as those Greeks were put in power, wickedness continued to multiply in the earth, man. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So how much more from that point to the point that we are now, man? Right. Where they have almost complete total control and influence over all the happenings on the globe, man. Right. You have the vile base man, right, making all the decisions, right, to push forward these things, man.
Right. At the water, brother. Tazawam, hopeful, elect 144. Yeah, Meyer Amschel Rothschild, who really is Meyer Amschel Bauer. We're gonna call him by his real name. All right, because he is a peasant along with the other Edomites. But yeah, he's the one that said that give me control of the money and I care not who makes the laws, because like I said, these devils have the power to influence the people in whatever way that they want, and if it's not by money, then it's through the imminent threat of death. Okay,
Exactly.
because this devil, hey, he rules with a bloody sword, man. Revelation the 6th chapter tells us that, man. All right. But I had a quick precept for you.
Okay.
This is Psalms chapter 10, verse 4. In fact, I started verse 3. It says, "For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous whom the Lord abhorreth."
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right. He's boasting of his desires, man. That's what you see day in and day out. Right. Them saying that we're gonna be like gods. Them saying, right, we can anger the Most High. Them saying, right, we're gonna be able to upload your consciousness into the computer, right? You're gonna be able to live forever. All these different things, right, are them boasting of the 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 gifts ultimately that the Lord has bestowed upon them, man. Right, the blessing that they've been given, being that sword, right, and having that control in the earth for this time period, this little season, as the scriptures say.
Mm-hmm.
This is them, as the scriptures talk about the axe, boasting against its master, man. Right? They getting too big for their shoes, pretty much, man. They're looking at what they're doing as if it's of their own volition, right? As if it's something that they've done through their own power, man. And that's why the Lord is looking at them and allowing them to get into these positions of pride, so that He can ultimately bring it down, man. So He can show the earth that the most proud man couldn't stand against His power, man.
That's right. 4. The wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is not in all his thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they're not even considering, man. Right. They don't think about the Lord in any way, shape, or form, man. And the only thing they would think of is how can we, stray away, right? How can we go even further away from, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Because it's ultimately, what's the word? Adverse to them, right? The same way that they're adverse to righteousness, we're adverse to their wickedness, man. Right? The Lord is adverse to what they're doing in the earth, man. So everything they do, every step they take, right, is to make a move to stray further and further away, man.
That's right. I want to read this in the NLT because this is a good point I'm gonna make off this. But it says, "The wicked are too proud to seek the Most High. They seem to think that the Most High is dead." And have these devils not said that? Was that not spoken out of the words of that dude Noah Yuval Harari, where he literally said God is dead? You know, he said so-called JC is fake news.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way that these devils operate in the earth, man, to where the Most High is no longer the one in control. You know, like after the New Testament was written and Yahushua, went up in the clouds, the Most High just faded to black, and now he's just one to ruin everything. You know, so these devils are pretty much boasting that this is their world, all right, and they're about to do what they will with this world, man. You know, so
right.
just showing you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, I was just gonna get that quote for you real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's Yuval Noah Harari. He said, "God is dead. It's just taking a while to get rid of the body."
See, and what's that? What's he saying? He's saying that there's no longer a need for the God of the Bible in the earth. So it says it's taking a while to hide the body because they're trying to remove his presence out the earth, and the only way they can really do that is if they take the Israelites off the earth, starting with the prophets, man, the prophets and the true believers. So this plan that they're bringing, all right, is multifaceted, but the main objective is to chip everybody in the world, because if you accept that mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, ultimately you now have become a creation of Esau's. You no longer belong to the Most High, and that's exactly what he wants. Okay, so as he's saying, man, they truly believe that the Most High is weaker than them, that they're able to take the Most High down. All right, so it was a video that came out with Big Ben, not a Jew, and he pretty much was talking to this priest, not a priest, a rabbi, and the rabbi was telling him that he needs to speed things up because they're trying to bring Yahushua into the earth so they can fight against him and defeat him, which we know that's a foolish thought, but that goes back to what we read in Psalm the 2nd chapter, man. That's one of the vain things that these devils have devised within themselves, man. And like I said, the Most High is going to laugh at them because they're going to find out that they was never in control from the beginning. All right. I'm gonna finish this out. Verse 5. It says, "His ways are," back in the King James, "His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity." And is that not what we're seeing? Especially look at Trump or Saki Nero 47. Right. Look at what he's been doing, man. He's puffing his chest out to all these different nations. And we just had a post. And I'll read this real quick. Saw this on YouTube. Hawaii had posted it. But hey, these devils went snatched up Greenland. We're talking about the recent. They snatched up Greenland, and it just came out that he put a tariff on his own allies. So let me pull this up real quick. In fact, I can pull it up on here. So let's end this. Just going into a few of these examples. But this is from the Clash report. It says, breaking: Trump put tariffs on allies over Greenland. Starting on February 1st, 2026, all the above mentioned countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and Finland, will be charged a 10% tariff on any and all goods sent to the United States of America. On June 1st, 2026, the tariffs will be increased to 25%. So this is reiterating the fact that, as we just said, man, hey, this devil's pride is getting built up, because the Most High needs him at his proudest. So when he takes him down, all right, the whole world is gonna witness the power of the Lord. All right. So he's puffing at his enemies, which eventually, are going to be his allies that's going to turn against him. All right. But he's saying that, look, these Edomites, they're telling the world that this is their world, man. And everybody else is just living in it. All right. And soon they're going to own everything, including you, you know. So they don't think that that they're at threat of going down. All right. The prophets, they look at the prophets like a fly that's buzzing in their ear. But that buzzing is becoming, so bothersome to the point now to where they have to do something about it, man. All right. They try to swat us. They try to put the little traps up from the ceiling, a little water bag to try to get us, but nothing could distract us, all right, because we're focused on prophecy, man, and we're chanting down Esau Edom as we're commanded to. Did you get that in I think it's Psalms where it talks about damn, how's it go? I just had a brain fart. Salakia. Not the one where it says that give him no rest, but pretty much how we're commanded to prophesy against Mount Seir. That's a good one. There's another one I'm thinking of as well.
Was it 35?
Con. I'm trying to think. It's another one in Psalm though. But you can read that one and break it down. I'll try to look for this one.
Okay. This is Ezekiel 35:1. It reads, Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Right? And that hand being Yahweh Shai, but until he makes his presence known, in the physical, it's the spirit that's going, out into the earth through the men that he's given this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to, man. Right? Mm-hmm. So we're being put in this lot to prophesy against, right, this wicked kingdom, man. Right? And that's, as the priest said, that's it's an irritant to Esau, man. Right? The scriptures often go into those the burden of Babylon, the burden of Egypt, the burden of Assyria. Right? It's a weighty thing, right, that they're seeing day in and day out, that these men out here, that they think nothing of, right, or continually, casting, dirt upon their names, telling the earth who they truly are, telling them that they're going to be, put into captivity, right, to tell them that their kingdom, is short-lived, right, all these things, that their devices aren't going to amount to anything, right. This is, a burdensome message, going out into the earth to Esau Edom, man.
Right. Yeah, I can't think of the one I was trying to look up. So we'll let's get into that Micah. All right, we'll start going into how this devil is being isolated, because what we just said. All right, we were commanded to prophesy against Mount Seir. So the different things that we are bringing out to expose these devils. Matter of fact, before we get there, get 2 Thessalonians 2. Things that we're commanded to bring out to show the world ultimately who these devils are, but also to warn our people that the wicked is about to be exposed, as well as he's about to come down with that great wrath, because he knows he has but a short time.
Yeah. So 2 Thessalonians 2 in verse 1. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Yahushua Mashiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter as from us, as that the day of Mashiach is at hand.
And this is why these words are meant to comfort our people, because even though it looks like this shit is about to get grim for us, we have the belief that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is going to protect his elect through these times. Hey, he's gonna pretty much bring us through. He's gonna feed us, because when this devil truly locks this country down, okay, all right, he's gonna use our daily necessities as weapons. Okay, he's gonna use the food, the water, your family, everything that we have in the earth will eventually become a weapon for this devil. All right, so this new world order system, okay, isn't supposed to put fear in us, because we know ultimately all the resources that we need come from Yahweh Hashem Yahushua anyways. So right now we're at a point to where the Lord is beginning to distance us from the cares of this life, man. You know, so when he does lock this shit down, okay, we've already detached spiritually. So now it's the physical detachment that's going to take place. So these words that is being spoken to us, all right, are supposed to put fear in us, but actually comfort us, man. You got it.
Okay. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition.
All right, that man of sin being these devils, going back ultimately back then it was the Roman Empire, all right, but we are in the revised Roman Empire, and they're doing the same thing they was doing now, but now it's a more technological Roman Empire, all right. So everything now is setting the stage for the digital prison that he's about to bring in, man. You
Yeah.
know, you got it.
Okay. Verse 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High,
Mm-hmm.
or that is worshipped, so that he, as the Most High, sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High.
And this is what we're talking about because these devils are about to, establish themselves or try to. They're not going to, but they're trying to establish themselves as the Most High in the earth. Okay, that's why they're running with the narrative that God is dead. Okay, because now they've become God, man. All right, they said it. They said it nobody's going to stop them from becoming God, and if you get in their way, they're going to kill you. Okay, so that message was directed at us because, like you said earlier, we're adverse to everything that they do. All right, naturally, all right, we're polar opposites. All right, going back to Esau and Jacob, you know, but we're Lord willing of the elect, we're going to oppose these devils and everything they're doing until the end because it goes against life. Ultimately, it goes against Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, which is life. All right, so this stance that we're taking, all right, is looked at as treason in the eyes of these devils, man. So this is why they're about to come down upon us with that great wrath, man. But it's our job to call these things out because these devils, they're not gods, man. All right, they're mere men. All right, as we read earlier, really they're the basis of men. Okay, they're the lowest of all the heathen on the planet. You know,
Right. Hey, and
so
they know that too. That's the
thank
thing, right? This is a that inferiority complex that they have, right? Where they have to, do all this to try to prove themselves, man.
you. Yep,
Right? And they know that we know that they know, man. So that's why they
yep.
want to get this message out of the earth, man, because it's gonna remind all these nations of who they truly are, man. Right? After
Mm-hmm.
all these long years and millennia, right, where Esau has projected himself as the picture of righteousness, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
finally being exposed for the devils that they are, man.
That's right. That's right.
I'm gonna keep going on that.
You said you was at verse 3.
Okay. Well, 4, yeah.
Let's jump down to verse 8, and then we can switch gears.
So 2 Thessalonians 2:8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and
Mm-hmm.
shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Right. And how's the wicked being revealed? Because we're going into all the things that the wicked will be doing in these last days, man. All right. How they pretty much has created a godless society and turned everybody's minds against the Most High and pretty much mingled everybody onto idols. All right. And that ultimate idol that they're going to make everybody worship is that chip because that chip is an idol. All right. Because back then, all right, when you think of the idols were pretty much they couldn't speak, they couldn't hear, but now the new idol, all right, it can talk, it can move on its own, man. You know, so these people are like I said, they're going to wander after the beast, you know, and he's been able to do this through the chemical warfare, which he's made food into that. All right, by the shit that he sprayed in the air, the barium oxide and aluminum. All right, the infiltration of the educational system. All right, pretty much indoctrinating the people to make them stupid.
Yeah.
Okay, and we it's a rabbit hole of things that we can get into, and we'll be here all day exposing. But
Right.
all these things pretty much culminate to the people now have become, a literal goyim for these devils, which the word goyim is what they call cattle, which they call the people or sheeple, you know, to where the people they're not resisting this man, because ultimately they're so dumbed down to where they just follow whatever's put in front of them, man, you know. So these devils have been, chipping away at the people's freedom for all these years, and the people don't even realize that these devils have been boxing you in really since the beginning of America, man. Only reason Esau didn't notice it, the every average everyday Joe six pack, is because they had that superiority complex to where they thought they was better than Jake. All right, they came over here, they owned Jake as slaves, and then when slavery so called was abolished, all right, you had the so called white privilege to where Esau still was looked at as being over Jake. They were favored over Jake still. So now that divide has been bridged, and now a lot of the Edomites are finding themselves in worse position than Jake's. That's why you see these devils beginning to speak out, because their own people, all right, have put them in slavery with the rest of the what they view as slaves, man. You know,
So,
you
okay.
got it.
So 2 Thessalonians 2:9. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders.
Right, and that's these elites, man. They have the full power of Satan on their side because they have mastered the left hand. We always go into, hey, when you brought up the Greeks dealing with the four generals, all right, Cassander, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, all right. When they got into power, you said, Scripture said the evils increased, and what was the first thing that these devils did? Mainly dealing with the Ptolemaic Empire, they went into Egypt, all right, went into them libraries and pretty much studied those Hermetic customs, which is really their old wicked way going back to them in the garden, the sons of the wicked.
Right.
But they got that knowledge back, and they have perfected it through this technology now, man. With AI being pretty much their main their main source of that knowledge being used. All right, these devils are ready to pretty much bring everybody in. All right, but that's what we're prophesying against. To let our people know that, look, don't be fooled by this shit, man. These devils, they're still men at the end of the day. Though these so-called wonders and miracles they're doing, all right, that's false knowledge, man. All right, because the scripture says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. You know, this AI ain't nothing more than recycled information that they have scoured, through all the data they collected, man. You know,
Exactly.
you got it.
God, 2 Thessalonians 2:10. And with all deceivableness and of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved.
Right, and that's why I was saying earlier about the people have been taken, all right, and dumbed down to where these devils are going to fool the majority of these people into thinking what they're doing is actually beneficial for mankind, because the gradualism of introducing this technology throughout the years to where everything now has become biometric, that you got to have your face scan, your eye scan, all right, everything's touchscreen now. We're going into touchless payments and shit. you know it's all being conditioning you to get ready for this new system. All
Yeah.
right. To where they said you're gonna own nothing and be happy. All right. Because if you look at what these devils has done, man, they have already started that. You really don't own nothing no more. You don't own music. You don't own your movies, your TV shows. You don't own the games. You don't own shit anymore, man. All
Right.
right. Everything is being given to you or sold to you, all right, to make you think that you own it, but you don't own shit, man. So it's going to get to the point to where these devils are going to use your basic necessities as weapons against you. And you people don't even realize that that's already started. I want to get this precept from the brother, Sirach 39 and 26. It says, the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these are for the good to the godly, so to the sinners they are turned into evil. All right. And like I said, these things will eventually become weapons against the 2/3 of our people, the wicked of our people, because they're looking at Esau to be that provider. They're gonna literally look at Esau like God, man. But we understand who these resources truly come from, which is the Most High. All right, because it's through the Most High how we're fed and taken care of and protected, man. Not through no man. All right, that's why the scriptures say, "Woe unto them that make flesh their arm," man. Ultimately, man. Roughly paraphrase. You got something, bro?
I was just gonna add to that point. You know, as you read the scripture that the brother had posted, right? When the scriptures talk about, right, those that will be killed, right, for denying or refusing the mark of the beast, that were killed going into being deprived of life, right? You're gonna be deprived of all your daily necessities, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like you said, they're already pre-programming people to be, conditioned for these things, man. Right? They're like you said, you don't own anything. Your access to things is already, scarce, right? They push these different psyops in order for people to see how much scarcity there truly is, and then they present. Ultimately, it's going to be that mark, but they're presenting these different means of salvation, so-called, right, for people to run to, So it's just they're just ramping things up, bit by bit, man. And we're about to start seeing it, take quantum leaps, right? With them pushing that 6G, right, and things of that nature. Things are going to start speeding up a whole lot faster because they're already behind schedule, right? And they know that they have but a short time. So we're going to start to see them just try to exercise their will in the earth, even quicker.
And I want to add to that too, because with them knowing that they're not hiding nothing no more, man. They're completely overt with everything now. Because like I said, the people are so stupid to where they can do these things in the open and nobody questions it, man. You may have a few, so-called truthers that may speak on it, on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, but they don't have the full picture like we do through the spirit, man.
Right.
So everything that you just mentioned, as far as the planned lockdown for the country, the economic collapse, the martial law, all right, the pretty much global reset, they don't understand the whole picture, all right, because spiritually we understand really what that is going into, all right, is them pretty much trying to take the Lord out the way and them creating a world in their own image, which is Satanism ultimately, man. Okay, so let's get that Micah 2, Bible Shah.
So Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand.
Right, and a good thing I always like to quote is that matter of fact, let me see if I can play that. Go back to my page real quick, because that poem, Paul Harvey, "If I Was the Devil," that shows a good ass example of these devils, because they able to mystify that whole thing of the devil is some red man that lives under the earth with a pitchfork waiting to poke a motherfucker for eternity. So let's actually expose these devils through this video. So let's play this real quick and put this on the screen. All right, so this was from 2 videos I put together for my page. So here we go.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed, and with promises.
If I ain't say it before, fair use, fair use. You know, we're not using this video for monetary gain and none of that. You know, we're just edifying. So hopefully they don't give me no copyright strike like they known to be doing.
Of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
If I was the devil, my first victim will be the kids. From the moment they left their mother's precious wombs and were born, I would condition them to see racial division as a norm. And I wouldn't stop till I've stripped their innocence, divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book of Genesis. And see, as they grew up, I would continue my infiltration. For 12 years, I would steal their hearts and minds from them and call it education. If I was the devil, my next victim will be women. I'd make old, out-of-touch men control women's bodies and rights. What better way to curse God than to disrespect the very bringers of life? Speaking of God, if I was the devil when it comes to religion, I put my plan together perfectly. I'd allow you to worship Jesus every Sunday, and on the other 6 days, I'd make you worship me. In the form of money, fame, lust, and greed, to my religion, I wouldn't need to convert you. I'd turn the 10 commandments to the 10 suggestions, then make virtue signaling more important than virtue. I give you just enough religion to hate each other, but not enough to love each other. And for my final evil strategy, I'd make you forget the whole purpose of religion was spirituality. If I was the devil, I wouldn't come dressed in a red cape and pointy horns. I'd drive a Lambo, have a pretty face and a Gucci belt on. Basically, I'd take the form of everything you ever wished for and watch you create your own hell. I don't need to torch the earth. And as far as politicians go, I'd change nothing. They're already doing my dirty work. If I was the devil low-key, I'd be behind the scenes. You wouldn't have to see me. I would normalize dysfunction and call it reality TV. And in this reality, I would attack your self-worth, making it hard to heal from. I'd show you images of fake bodies and make them more attractive than real ones. If I was the devil, I'd make you pray to technology and idolize those who create it. I'd make clout the #1 drug and steal millions of lost souls as they chased it. Now, if I was the devil, I wouldn't do it all at once. I'd take my time instead. I'd eat away at your morals little by little. Exactly how cancer spreads. Speaking of cancer, if I was the devil, I'd feed you tasty food that makes you ill. Then I'd turn your doctors into drug dealers, selling you pills that keep you coming back instead of truly healed. Yeah, if I was Lucifer, then I'd know life and death are in the tongue. So I'd make your knife and fork your executioner. See, you can't achieve higher consciousness if your body is sick. You won't opt for positive information if you have inflammation. If I was Satan, my cleverness would be admired. Why do you think the word inflammation literally means to set on fire? If I was the devil, I'd show you how to really flex. I would release pandemics on the world to give people the chance to really care for each other and then sit back and laugh as they exploited and became scared of each other. Basically, if I was the devil, I'd keep doing what I'm doing. God is my witness. I already control your systems. Don't try to fight against this. Because for my last trick, I would make smart people like you doubt whether I ever existed.
Now, this is just a good visual to what what we just read. So you can bring that precept back, Baba Kashaf.
It's back in Micah. Micah chapter 2 and verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
All right. So as you just heard from those two videos, that these devils have done many things behind that curtain to pretty much destroy the people. Okay, it's a good document to read called it's called the Masonic Creed, and in that it goes into everything that what that was showing, in detail. Try to fact check it and say that wasn't a real thing, but what you can see as being true, you can't dismiss it, for being fact checked, because it's being done in the earth. We're seeing it actually coming to pass now. So, as it says, woe unto them, because it's a judgment for you polluting the people, polluting the earth, destroying, the Lord's creations, man. Pretty much warring against the Most High. All right, it's a judgment for that, man. All right, and these devils are going to be found guilty, as we are pretty much in the court right now, man, testifying against this man. Okay, so you can't no longer use different arguments. So Esau ain't the white man, Esau is the Arabs, Esau is Japhet. No, Esau is the so-called white man, because everything that the scripture said the wicked will be doing, that fits the Edomites, man. As we said earlier, who's the one that runs every corrupt thing in the earth? Is these devils, man. So as I said, woe unto them that devise evil upon their beds, because the power is in their hand. The Lord is allowing these devils to do this shit, man. You got it.
Yeah. Verse 2. And they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man and his heritage.
Is that not what Esau's track record shows? Did they not do that to Libya? Or did they not do that to Afghanistan and Iraq? Did they not just do that to Venezuela? Are they not trying to do that to Greenland? This is the Edomites. This is the so-called white man. All right, you can't defend this man. All right, as much as you Christians and you coon ass niggas out there trying to do. All right, the wicked has been revealed, and the Lord is isolating him. The spotlight, you have like them old shows, the cartoons and shit. The person's on stage and that spotlight is on them, so everywhere they go, the lights shine on them. That's what's being done to Esau through the spirit, man.
Exactly. Okay, I got precept for you. Okay. So Luke chapter 12 and verse 2. It reads in the NLT, the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. Right? So, like you said, well, I'll read verse 3. Whatsoever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops for all to hear. So like you said, that spotlight is on them, man. Right? The scriptures talk about how Esau is going to be chased out of the world, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So in order for him to be chased, people have to know, right, what he's done, man. They have to see and understand, the wickedness that he's perpetrated, man. Right? And they have to be, the spirit has to be on them to be enraged about it, man. Right?
Right.
That's why the beast shall hate the whore. Right? You have all the nations coming up against Babylon. Right? Jeremiah 51. Right? All these things that we see in prophecy taking place. Right? Everybody is coming to the same understanding of that. This devil has to be taken out of the way, man. Right?
He's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's the problem in the earth, because all the issues that you could possibly think of all point back to him. All right, because they're trying to destabilize the world so they can have the justification to try to come and save it. But the scriptures tell us that as well. Grab that real quick. You have some more on that?
That was it on that. That was it on that.
Kind. Get this real quick. This is Sirach chapter 12. And I start at verse 10 and I'm gonna jump down. Sirach 12 and 10 says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Okay. And so Esau Edom, all right, he can never be trusted, and his track record, it shows that. Okay. Yeah, he's that scripture said, tried to Satan transformed himself into an angel of light. He tried to put this image on like he's this, a great caring, loving soul. You see them get on camera and talk about how the changes that they're doing in the earth is all for peace and all that, but it's all bullshit, because this man is the wicked. It's impossible for him to have peace. He don't even have peace within himself, man. So how can he do good for someone else when he doesn't even do good for himself, man? I'm gonna jump down to verse 16. It says, "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit." Now, just using the examples we have on the screen right now, all right, you got Gates of Hell, you got Dr. Farsi, these two guys, all right, they during the Demic 2020, they got on. That was the main voices that you saw on the on the subject, and they was talking about how they're doing precautions to bring peace to the earth. So they came up with that juice, all right, which killed millions of people, and it affected millions of people to this day. All right, they gave you a juice that was experimental, that we're just now beginning to see what was in that shit affect these people. All right, but these are the same faces that these elites will use, all right, to really coax the people into doing their bidding, man. And Dr. Farsi, to show you that he's a tool, because when you go back to the AIDS epidemic, he was the one being used to push that shit. He's the reason why a lot of Jake, all right, was being pushed on condoms. But condoms, that latex is really is bad for your rod, as well as bad for your woman. So it's a continual mind fuck. Like I said, chemical warfare, biological warfare, whatever warfare you could think of, these devils are doing it. So as it says, the enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. And that's all what the WEF is about. They get on that panel and talk about these changes that they're doing, but when you really sit back and think about it, what is beneficial for what they're bringing? They're talking about pretty much enclosing you in a digital prison, to where you're going to be enslaved by them, being watched by your every move, being watched to the point to where they're going to be able to actually go inside of you and read your thoughts. What is beneficial about that? When the scriptures, I heard this precept about a month ago. I can't remember where it's at. It's a proverb though, but it talks about how you're not supposed to know the thoughts of others. These devils want to get in the inside and know exactly what these people are thinking, because they want to know who is their enemies and who opposes them, man. So it says, he will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And that's this devil's track record. All right. When he calls himself going to these different countries and aiding them, and then eventually bringing democracy. But then what happens? They get overthrown. All right, that's what happened with Libya, Iraq. Shit, we're seeing that with Venezuela. They tried to bring the aid, but then what happened when they found out that Venezuela was doing, deals with other countries with that oil, man? They switched up and showed their true colors to them, man. Okay, it says, "If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, he will yet yet shall he undermine thee." And we saw that with Hawaii. All right, we saw that in LA with the fires, all these natural disasters that take place, which we know ultimately comes from Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, but we know the devil has the ability to cause these things. We know about the heart machine, all right? We know about how this devil has these damn weapons that can, ultimately be used to start these things. We know about like I said, the dew weapons. We know about the, like I said, the cloud seeding, all right? The chemtrails with the whole purpose behind that. But they'll tell you that these things either don't exist or they're actually for the good. No, that's him pretty much, using these tools to help aid him to further bring forth his plan. All right.
Like scripture say, his words are soft as oil.
Yep.
The war is in his heart.
Yep.
Yep.
You can't trust this man.
Right.
So this is why, as everybody is beginning to realize that he's the problem, this is why we're seeing that pivot going from, offense to defense. And they're like a corner dog that's been, like I said, is back against the wall. They're about to lash out because Esau can't be hit no more, man. All right. Real quick. This is Wisdom of Solomon 1:9. It says, "For inquisition shall be made into the counsel of the ungodly, and the sound of his words shall come unto the Lord for the manifestation of his wicked deeds." Now, like I said, all right, the true revealing of this man is being done by the prophets, because you have these truthers that are bringing these different things out, but they don't have the full picture. We understand the picture is this, all right? These devils, starting with the elites, all right, the Rothschilds, they know that they're the seed of Esau, all right? They know that they're the house of Edom, and they know that we're the children of Israel, all right? So now that knowledge is being put back in the earth, all right, they're moving in fear because they understand that, according to prophecy, once Jake stands upon their feet, that the Messiah is going to he's going to return and deliver us as he destroys them, man. So this is what all this is really going into. They're trying to hurry up and chip everybody so that when Yahushua returns, he's not going to have any of the remnant to deliver, So this is why at the end of the day, as we just read, all right, the counsel of the ungodly, all right, has been looked into, and we have identified this man as being the wicked. Okay, his deeds speak for themselves, man. All right, hey, that's a good precept right here. This is the book of Psalms 58:1. It says, "Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth." And that's that's exactly what we're saying, man. Their actions speak louder than their words, man. These devils are doing nothing but pretty much enslaving the world through lies and trickery, man. And you people are going right along with the mix because you don't have the eyes to see that this man is the devil, man. All right. Exactly. So you people are literally giving them your freedom. You notice that throughout the years, the more that you've given, you have not gotten back. That's why, you got all these videos speaking about, the world changed for the worse in 2020, and it's just gotten worse and worse. So they said 2025 was literally the worst year ever. All right. And it's only going to get worse from here, man.
Right.
So we got a couple more. We're going to close it.
I wanted to get that word for inquisition real quick.
Go ahead, Al.
This is inquisition in the Free Dictionary. You jump down to definition B. It says an investigation that violates the privacy or rights of individuals, especially through rigorous or harsh interrogation, right? So everything is being uncovered, man, right? Every stone is being turned, right? Everything that's in the like Esau does when they go up in the prison cells, man. They turn everything over, man, ripping the pillows
Right.
apart and everything, man. Right? It says it's violating their privacy, right? It's a rigorous, harsh interrogation that's taking place, and that's why they're coming against us the way they are, right? That's why they're trying to control the narrative and things of that nature, right? That's why you see the ADL and the APAC and all these different groups, right? That's ran by Amalek, starting to be more and more vocal about their intentions, right? In regards to politics, right?
Right.
Because they're feeling the heat, right? They're sitting at the table, and that cross examination is happening right now, and they don't want to have these things brought to light, right? Because they know that they're guilty, right? So they're going to do everything in their power to try to offset that, man.
Mm-hmm. And that's why, like I said, they're moving with that haste because they can't hide behind the narrative of the Hebrew Israelites are a hate group, or that the victim card ain't working no more because everybody is starting to see that this man is who we say he is, man, which is the wicked, and Yahweh Shem Shai is bringing that judgment to these devils, man. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, man, our job is to continue to bring this out until we're no longer able to prophesy, man. Let's get this in Isaiah 5:20. That'll probably be it. That was really on my list, so it's kind of just flowing now.
Okay. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
All right, going into that judgment, as it keeps saying, woe unto them that have done these things, man. Who's the one? Good precept for that is Romans 1. All right, who turned the knowledge of the Most High into a lie, roughly paraphrasing, man. Okay, because with them putting their selves up as being, the Most High or God, they have changed up everything to where the minds of the peoples are truly in confusion, which is why this place is called Babylon the Great, Mystery Babylon the Great, because Esau has changed the coordinates. All right, he's broken the everlasting covenant with the earth, to where now the knowledge of wickedness is the main, way of thinking now, man. All right. So as it says, woe unto them. All right, the Lord is going to come against them for that. All right. In fact, I got a good precept for that. You got something else you bring that real quick out?
Let me get this here. This is what is it? Hosea 4:1. It reads, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of the Most High in the land." And that word controversy goes into a prolonged disagreement, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been truthfully from the beginning, right? Right? From that's the spirit of Cain, or from the spirit of the serpent to the spirit of Cain, right? On down to where we're at right now with Esau, man. Right?
Yep.
That same spirit, right, has been in controversy with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? And like I said, with the inhabitants of the land, so the inhabitants of the land exemplify those same tenets, man, right? The people in the earth follow after the leadership, man. And because we're in the midst of the most wicked leadership, we're in the midst of the most wicked earth that the earth has ever seen, man. Right?
Yep.
It said, because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai in the land, right? And that's the threat, is that knowledge coming back into the land, and that's what they're fighting, right, to avoid happening, man, right, to try to offset from happening.
Because as we read earlier in Micah, it said that how they covet land to take them by violence and oppress a man, even a man in his heritage. So where these other nations are beginning to feel the exact thing that he done to the nation of Israel. All right.
Exactly.
Where now everybody has to submit themselves under this man. He's making them forget their ancient ways and cultures. This is why you see majority of these nations, man, they act like Edomites, man. nasty, dirty. You know, they don't uphold their custom. This is why, especially when they come over here to America, the people back in their home country, they disown them because they wanted after the beast, man.
Yeah.
You know. So real quick, this is Habakkuk 2:15. It says, "Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, that putteth thy bottle to him, and maketh him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness." Okay, and that's what these devils have done. They polluted the minds of all the heathen nations now, to where we're getting to a point, as we read earlier in that tweet. All right, Esau is gonna piss off the nations so much to where these nations are gonna, his allies are gonna eventually turn on him and destroy him. Okay, you got anything else? I got this last precept. We can end it.
Okay. No, that was it. That's all I had.
Okay. Revelation 11:18.
Okay. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11 and verse 18. It reads, "And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth."
Right, because we're being led into World War III. All right, when I say we, not meaning we're calling ourselves American. We're saying the world, because the World War III is the world stage where everybody is going to be involved in it. All right, so it says the nations were angry because going into the other scripture that came to mind was, it said how the beast was going to hate the whore. Okay, America's allies, as we're seeing, all right, they're going to eventually, tire of Esau's pride, all right, and they're seeing that there's really no benefit to continue to do business with America and Israel, so they're going to eventually, as we're seeing, align with Russia, and all that, and they're gonna eventually shoot missiles on this place, man. So as it says, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come at the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, because everything that we've been doing up until this point, all right, is to receive that reward, which is salvation. All right. So as World War III takes place, we're rejoicing in that, because we want World War III to happen, because we know that and the chip is the last two major prophecies that have to take place, all right, before Yahushua returns, which is, brother put that on comment board, Revelation 11:14. The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly, because everything that we're seeing Trump is doing is stoking the flames for World War III. All right, he's provoking these nations to get tired of America, to get tired of Israel, so they can eventually come against it. So this is all the plans of the Most High, according to Psalms, was that 21:2. All right, the king's hand is in the heart of the Lord, or the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right. So the point, back in the end of this, it says, "And to the saints and to them that fear thy name, small and great, and should have destroyed them which destroy the earth." So Esau, Edom, okay, his ultimate punishment, as it says in Obadiah 1:18, is to be wiped off the earth, because once America is destroyed and the kingdom, after 1,000 years of slavery, all right, is done, the nations are going to go back to their respective lands, and Esau is going to eventually be eradicated because his use is no longer needed. All right. So the Most High is allowing this man to do what he's doing. All right. Like I said, to show us what wickedness at the highest level looks like, but also, to show forth his power on earth again, because people forgot about Al-Shaja, man. All right. That fear that the nations had of the God of the Israelites, back when you read the Old Testament, that has, dissipated, because like the scriptures say, the Most High is a God that hideth himself, or he's about to reveal himself very soon. Okay. If you have the eyes to see, the Lord has already started doing it, but we're going to see that done on a high scale when this devil is taken down, man. You got any closing words?
No, that was it. I mean, where it's been revealed, right, who this devil truly is, man. Right, from top to bottom, what his intentions are in the earth, right, and it's really contingent on the spirit, whether you can receive it, man, right, whether you can see and understand what's required, right, of you as a believer, right? To come back and serve the Lord, and understanding that it's really out of our hands in regards to this man's fate, right? We just do what we're tasked to do, and then we watch the story play out, man. Right?
Mm-hmm. Say, hey, all we gotta do is just sit back and watch things unfold, man. Hey, Abba Shem Shai is doing a wonderful work in the earth, man. So, Lord willing, we continue to do our part. All right, stay stay faithful, prayed up, and diligent, man. And the Lord's gonna reward us with that salvation. So, with that, we're gonna end this lesson. Lord willing, it was edifying. We want to give all honor, prayer, all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, Bahashem Rachah HaKodash. Double honors to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught me this truth and that rule well. And peace and salutation to the elect. Until next time, we say shalom.
Shalom.